Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. Following his victory over Conor Benn this past weekend, who should Chris Eubank Jr. fight next? That's the question. Because a lot of potential opponents would have watched that fight and they'll be rubbing their hands together. Not just because of the fact that Eubank Jr. was able to draw a massive crowd, do big numbers on pay-per-view and therefore equal a big payday for his next opponent, whoever it may be, but also because Eubank Jr. struggled in there against an unproven welterweight. Yes, he won convincingly on the cards, but physically, it was a struggle. He had to spend 2 days in hospital after the fight. So there are going to be all sorts of fighters in various weight divisions who will now target Eubank Jr. I suspect that includes all of the current middleweight champions, probably all the junior middleweight champions as well, maybe even Boots Ennis at welterweight, and perhaps even Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight. But who do I think would be the best option for Eubank Jr.? Well, it depends on what's most important to him. Most fighters have an unusually high degree of self-confidence and belief, to such an extent that to the public they can come across as delusional. But as Chris Eubank Sr. said in the past, you need that level of confidence in order to achieve things, not just in boxing, but in life in general. So Eubank Jr.'s idea of what fight is best for him next may differ greatly from my idea of what fight is best for him, because he may believe he can beat certain fighters that I don't think he can beat. The first example, of course, would be Canelo. In my mind, that is a total mismatch. Eubank Jr. can't beat him, he get duppied. Now, Canelo's got a full schedule at the moment anyway. William Skull next month. If he gets past that, Terence Crawford later on in the year. But if he gets past both of them, and there's no Terence Crawford rematch, maybe he will look at Chris Eubank Jr. It's not a very credible fight from a resume perspective, but Canelo's pretty shameless these days. But as a boxing fan, I like to see competitive fights. And in my mind, that's not competitive at all. Canelo versus Eubank Jr. I see Eubank Jr. getting wiped out. I do think he should move up to 168, but I don't think Canelo's the guy he should be fighting. I do not think that Eubank Jr. should fight Conor Benn again. Not at 160 anyway. I don't think the risk reward is worth it. As I keep saying, I don't think Eubank Jr. can make 160 and be 100% anymore. If he's going to take that risk, there has to be a title at stake. There has to be a world championship fight, and obviously Conor Benn would not be that. It would be a big payday, yes, but that's all it would be. He's already beaten the guy once. Beating him twice isn't going to add anything extra to his legacy. And there are big paydays elsewhere against other people, which don't necessarily have to be 160 pounds. And I'm talking about winnable fights. In my mind, Eubank Jr. is on his last legs. If he wants to win world titles, if he still has that ambition, then he needs to be targeting Erislandy Lara maybe, Carlos Adames, the other champion, Aleem Canuli. I don't see Eubank Jr. beating him in a million years. I reckon he'd have more chance against him than he'd have against Canelo, yes, but I still don't see him winning. I don't think Eubank Jr. is strong enough at the weight anymore, and I think Aleem Canuli is far too skilled. And of course, that fight wouldn't pay as much as some of the other fights out there for Eubank, and I have to assume that's the reason he never pursued the Aleem Canuli fight, because he could have had it by now. Same way with Carlos Adames and Erislandy Lara. He could have had those fights, but presumably because the risk reward isn't very attractive, he decided to fight Conor Benn instead. So since I think the Canelo fight is a complete mismatch, and I don't think he could beat Aleem Canuli, he'd have a better chance against Adames and Lara, but I'm not sure he could beat those two either. Who should he fight instead then? I think the two obvious names that would deliver commercially, at least in the UK, and also in terms of being winnable fights, are Billy Joe Saunders and Kell Brook. Both guys have been calling him out for a number of years. He's got history with Billy Joe Saunders. He lost to him back in the days. And he's also got history with Kell Brook because he kind of mocked Kell Brook after he lost to Gennady Golovkin over the fact that his trainer, Dominic Ingle, threw the towel in. And he famously said, "My corner don't own towels." But we found out that weren't true when he got stopped by Liam Smith. But anyway, yeah, I think those are the two fights for him. The question is, can either of those guys get back in any kind of shape? Billy Joe Saunders must be 250 pounds right now. Is he capable of getting the weight off at this point in his life? I'm not sure. If he can, then perhaps they make the Eubank Jr. fight at 168. Certainly not at 160. Forget about that. Billy Joe Saunders is not getting down to 160. He hasn't fought since his loss to Canelo, which was several years ago. And that was at 168. So a Eubank Jr. Billy Joe rematch would have to be 168 minimum, maybe even higher than that. Kell Brook, on the other hand, still appears to be in decent condition. He hasn't let himself go too much, which is kind of interesting because during his career, he let himself go often. But since he's Retired, he seems to always be in shape. Funny how that works. But anyway, because of that, Kell Brook might be a more realistic fight. And Kell Brook was a much bigger welterweight than Conor Benn is. So he might not be so concerned about rehydration clauses or even fighting at 160. He might be willing to fight at 168 or let's say a catch weight of 165. So yeah, those are my two suggestions for Eubank Jr. in terms of fights that are lucrative and also winnable. Again, as a boxing fan, I want to see competitive matchups. I'm not interested in mismatches. I wouldn't be against Eubank Jr. trying to challenge for world honors at 160, but I think it's past him at this point. I think he struggles too much at the weight. I think he's been slowing down for a number of years, and I don't think he's on the same skill level as the current middleweight champions. Again, I'd probably give him the best shot against Lara, but even then I'd probably make Lara the favorite. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I think the best fights for Eubank Jr. are Kell Brook and Billy Joe Saunders in terms of money and winnability. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.